Zoran, a seasoned alien commander, stood on the bridge of his warship, gazing out at the vast expanse of stars. His mind was sharp, focused, and ready for the mission ahead. The galaxy had always been peaceful, dominated by technologically advanced civilizations. But now, something new had appeared, a human faction. The humans were creating chaos, spreading resistance in places the galactic powers had thought safe. Zoran had never understood humans. They were a young species compared to the ancient civilizations of the galaxy. They were reckless, quick to fight, and unpredictable. Zoran had long believed that their technology was far behind and their tactics primitive. They relied on brute strength and surprise attacks, something he thought was beneath the more refined and advanced species of the galaxy. Zoran, his lieutenant Calthor called out, pulling Zoran from his thoughts. The human threat has been located on the jungle world of Kiranine. Our scouts say they've set up camp there. Zoran nodded. The orders were clear. It was to lead a small but elite team to eliminate this human threat once and for all. Calthor continued. The terrain is dense. The atmosphere is harsh. But we believe their main camp is near the largest river, just past the swamp. They have no idea we're coming. We will strike before they can react. Zoran's eyes narrowed. He had no doubt that his team could handle this. With their advanced tech, they would easily destroy the human rebels. The plan was simple. Infiltrate the area, neutralize the human force, and return. But as Zoran gazed out into space, something in the back of his mind made him uneasy. He dismissed it. It was just the unknown terrain. The journey to Kiranine was uneventful, but the closer they got, the more Zoran couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The sensors on his ship were functioning perfectly, but he felt a strange tension in the air. His team was too calm, perhaps even too confident. Upon landing, Zoran ordered his team to disembark. They suited up in their combat armor, the helmets, sealing with a soft hiss. As they stepped onto the surface of Kiranine, Zoran looked around. The world was different from anything he had encountered before, lush, green, and filled with strange creatures that flitted through the air and rustled. In the thick trees, the ground was soft, the air thick with moisture, but his soldiers were unfazed. They were prepared for anything. Stay sharp, Zoran commanded. We move in formation. Calthor, take the left flank. I'll go right. The team moved forward, stepping carefully through the jungle. Zoran led the way, using his advanced scanning equipment to pick up any signs of human presence. But there was nothing. Not even the faintest signal from a human life form. Hours passed and still nothing. Zoran couldn't understand it. Should have been signs of life by now, footprints, campfires, something, but the jungle was quiet, eerily so. His soldiers grew tense, exchanging worried glances. This is wrong, Calthor muttered over the communication line. We should have seen something by now. Zoran silenced his lieutenant. Keep moving, they're here. I can feel it. Suddenly the jungle seemed to shift. Zoran's team froze. Yet heard something, just a faint rustle in the trees. At first he thought it was one of the many animals native to Kiranine, but then a voice crackled in his ear. Commander, I think I've found something, Calthor said, his voice barely above. A whisper. Zoran turned and signaled for his team to gather. Calthor was standing near a dense thicket, crouched low and scanning the area. Zoran approached cautiously, his instincts telling him to be careful. This didn't feel like the simple mission they'd been briefed on. Calthor motioned for him to come closer. Look at this, he said, pointing to the ground. Zoran knelt, observing the footprints. They were human, but they were fresh, and there were many of them more than Zoran had expected. This is too many for a single scout, Zoran muttered, his voice low. He glanced at his team. Stay alert. We are being watched. As if on cue, a sharp crack echoed through the jungle. Zoran spun around, his weapons raised, but there was nothing. His heart began to race. It was an ambush. He had walked right into it then. Without warning, one of his soldiers dropped to the ground with a soft thud. Zoran's head snapped in the direction of the sound, and his eyes widened in disbelief. The soldier's helmet was cracked, his lifeless body lying on the jungle floor. No gunshot had been heard. The soldier hadn't even seen it coming. "Fall back!" Zoran shouted, grabbing Calthor by the arm. They had to move. Couldn't stay here. But before he could give another order, another soldier fell, then another. The sniper was already among them. Zoran's mind raced. "We're being picked off. Stay in cover. Move in groups of 2. He grabbed his communicator and called for an evacuation. But the signal was jammed. There was no way out. The jungle, which had once seemed peaceful, now felt like a death trap. The enemy was silent, their presence a constant whisper in the air. The sniping was expertly timed, with the humans taking advantage of every shadow and tree. Zoran cursed under his breath. The humans had planned this out far better than he had thought. "Get to the river," Zoran yelled, making a decision to retreat. They needed to find cover, or they would all die in this jungle. But as he ordered his soldiers to move, another shot rang out closer, this time. It took down one of his soldiers, and before Zoran could react, the enemy sniper's voice echoed through the jungle, clear and steady. "Leave now, or none of you will survive." Zoran gritted his teeth. This was no ordinary human. This was a soldier one, with skills far beyond what he had ever expected. "Get moving," Zoran barked again. His team started to retreat, but the fear had set in. They were all being hunted. The jungle, the place they had thought was their advantage, was now the perfect setting for a deadly game of survival. Zoran's heart pounded. He had made a terrible mistake. Underestimating the humans had been his first. Now he would have to face the consequences. Zoran's heart raced as he led the remaining members of his team through the thick jungle. The fear among his soldiers was palpable. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of a tree seemed to signal the approach of the deadly sniper. His team had been reduced to a few scattered soldiers, and the jungle had turned into their worst enemy. "We need to get to the river," Zoran said, his voice low but firm. "We'll regroup there." But as they moved through the dense forest, Zoran couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The air felt heavier, as if it was thick with danger. Every step they took seemed to echo, even though they were trying to be as silent as possible. The sniper's eyes were everywhere, waiting for the perfect moment. Zoran's instincts were sharp, but they were beginning to feel useless. He had been in countless battles, had fought some of the most dangerous enemies in the galaxy, but nothing had prepared him for the human sniper. This human was not just skilled. This human was hunting them. "We're being followed," Calthor, his lieutenant, said quietly, eyes scanning the dense underbrush. Zoran nodded. He had sensed it too. The sniper was not just picking off his soldiers from a distance, he was hurting them. Every movement was calculated, every shot perfectly timed. It was as if the sniper knew exactly where they would go next. "Stay sharp," Zoran ordered. "We can't let him push us into a corner." They reached the riverbank, a wide, fast-moving body of water that seemed to stretch endlessly into the jungle. Zoran signaled for his team to stop and take cover behind a group of large rocks. The river would give them some cover, but it also trapped them in the open. There was no way to move forward without being seen. Zoran's mind raced. They needed a plan. They couldn't just stay here, waiting to be picked off one by one. But the sniper was patient, and Zoran could feel the weight of that patience pressing down on him. "Commander," one of his soldiers whispered. "Look." Zoran turned his head. From the corner of his eye, he saw a flicker of movement, too fast to be an animal, too precise to be a random passerby. The sniper was close. "Move," Zoran barked, but it was too late. Another shot rang out, and one of his soldiers collapsed to the ground. Zoran's heart clenched as he saw the soldier's lifeless body fall into the river, carried away by the current. "Get down," Zoran shouted as he dropped behind the rocks. The sniper had taken another shot, and it had been aimed directly at him. The bullet whizzed past his ear, close enough to feel the wind from its passing. Zoran's mind snapped into focus. He wasn't just being hunted, he was being tested. The sniper wasn't trying to kill them quickly. No, the sniper was playing with them, pushing them to the edge and waiting for them to make a mistake. "We need to split up," Zoran said. "If we stay in one place, we're dead." His team hesitated. They had been fighting together for years, and splitting up was not a strategy they used lightly. The fear in their eyes was undeniable. They knew Zoran was right. Staying together was a death sentence. Calthor nodded. We'll move in pairs. But where's the sniper? We haven't seen him, that's the problem, Zoran said. He's close, too close. He's everywhere. With no time to lose, Zoran and Calthor moved out first, cautiously making their way around the edge of the river. Zoran's eyes were constantly scanning the trees, the rocks, the shadows. I had no idea where the sniper might be, but he knew one thing: he was being hunted. They moved quickly, keeping low and staying close to the water's edge. Zoran's mind was a whirl of thoughts. He couldn't shake the feeling that the sniper was getting closer, that he was being drawn into a trap. Then, without warning, another shot rang out. This time, it was Calthor who fell, his body crumpling as a bullet tore through his armor. Zoran watched in horror as his lieutenant's body hit the ground. The blood mixing with the river's current, Zorin froze. This wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't part of the plan. His soldiers were supposed to be the ones in control, but now the tables had turned. They were the ones being hunted. Get up, Zoran shouted, trying to rally his team. But they were already in disarray. Panic was setting in. The sniper was too good, too fast. There was no place to hide, no place to run. Zoran gritted his teeth. We're not dying here. We're fighting back. He grabbed his communicator and tried to send a distress signal to the warship above. But once again, the signal was jammed. The sniper had disabled all communication. It was just Zoran and his team and the human who was hunting them like prey. Suddenly, a voice crackled through Zoran's earpiece. It was distorted, but it was clear enough. Commander Zoran, the voice said, calm and steady. You made a mistake. You thought you could hunt me. But you are the ones being hunted. The voice was cool, confident. It sent a chill down Zoran's spine. The sniper was playing with them, but this time Zoran wouldn't let it go on any longer. Enough, Zoran shouted, his voice ringing with authority. We're not running anymore. Zoran and the remaining soldiers scrambled for cover, positioning themselves along the riverbank. They knew they couldn't let the sniper dictate the fight. They had to take control. But the sniper was always one step ahead. Zoran's hands tightened around his weapon. It was time to face the truth. The humans were far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. And this human sniper was not just a soldier, he was a nightmare. The jungle was silent now, save for the sound of Zoran's breath and the distant rush of the river. His soldiers were all but gone, picked off one by the human sniper. Zoran had never felt so vulnerable. He was no longer leading a team, was barely holding on to his life, and he was running out of time. We need to move. Commander Calthor, the last of Zoran's team, said, his voice shaky but firm. We can't stay here much longer. Zoran nodded, his heart heavy. Calthor had barely escaped the sniper's deadly shot earlier. The two of them were all that remained. The rest of his team had fallen, their bodies either washed away by the river or left behind in the jungle. Zoran could feel the weight of the mission pressing down on him. His reputation was at stake. He had been so sure that the humans were weak, that their technology was nothing compared to the advanced weaponry of his people. But now he was learning the hard truth. Humans, especially their snipers, were a force to be reckoned with. Stay close, Zoran ordered, his voice low. We'll try to find higher ground. Maybe we'll have a better chance of spotting. Calthor gave a nod and followed Zoran, his eyes darting from shadow to shadow. The jungle was dense, and every step felt like a risk. The trees, the underbrush, the thick air all seemed to hide something, a presence just out of sight, waiting. But Zoran knew the sniper was out there somewhere in the jungle, waiting for the right moment to strike. They climbed a small hill, hoping to get a better view of their surroundings. Zoran's mind raced as he scanned the area. But all he could see was the endless stretch of jungle and the river winding through it. There were no signs of movement, no hint of the sniper's location. Do you think we're being watched, right? Now, Calthor asked, his voice tense. Zoran didn't answer right away. He could feel the eyes on him, but he couldn't tell where they were coming from. His instincts screamed that the sniper was close, but the jungle was too vast to pinpoint him. I know we are, Zoran replied finally. We're being hunted, but we can't let fear control us. They paused at the top of the hill, trying to steady their breathing. The moment of silence seemed to stretch on, each second heavy with the weight of uncertainty. Zoran knew they couldn't keep running like this. They needed to outsmart the sniper, and to do that, they had to change the game. "We need to turn the tables on him," Zoran said, his voice sharp. "We can't be the ones always reacting. We need to force him to react." Kelthor looked at him, confusion flashing in his eyes. "How do we do that? The sniper knows the jungle better than we do." Zoran's mind was already working, piecing together a plan. He had seen how the sniper operated, patient, calculating, always one step ahead. But Zoran knew something the sniper didn't. The human couldn't predict every move they made. The jungle was unpredictable, and the sniper was relying too much on the terrain to do all the work. "We need to make him move," Zoran said, his voice low but filled with determination. "We'll create noise, draw him out." Kelthor's eyes widened. "But that'll give away our position." "Exactly," Zoran replied, "and that's how we'll trap him." Without waiting for a response, Zoran set his plan into motion. He grabbed a small grenade from his belt, a device designed to create a loud explosion and distract enemies. He pulled the pin and threw it into the dense jungle, far off to the side. The grenade exploded with a deafening roar, sending a shockwave through the trees. The ground trembled underfoot as the blast echoed into the distance. Zoran and Kelthor quickly moved to the opposite side of the hill, crouching low behind the cover of rocks and trees. They waited in silence, their hearts pounding in their chests, listening for any sign of movement. The jungle was still. But then, something shifted, a slight rustling in the trees. Zoran's heart leaped into his throat. "He's coming," Zoran whispered. They waited, holding their breath, their muscles tense. Zoran's eyes scanned the jungle, searching for the slightest sign of the sniper. The sniper was taking the bait. Zoran was sure of it. He had to be. Suddenly, there was a flash of movement, and before Zoran could react, a shot rang out. The bullet hit a nearby rock, sending debris flying. Zoran dove to the ground, narrowly avoiding the sniper's aim. Kelthor was already moving. Darting behind the nearest tree to take cover, the sniper was close now. Zoran could feel it. He had to act fast. He signaled to Kelthor, motioning toward the other side of the hill. They had to split up again. It was their only chance. Zoran moved, quickly making his way down the slope, keeping low to the ground. The sniper's next shot narrowly missed him. Zoran ducked behind a large boulder, his heart pounding in his chest. Kelthor was just a few meters away, firing back at the sniper's position, trying to keep him distracted. Zoran's mind raced. He knew they couldn't win a battle of strength against the sniper. The human skills were unmatched, and Zoran wasn't sure how much longer they could keep up the fight. But there had to be a way to outsmart him. Suddenly, an idea struck him. He glanced at Kelthor, who was still firing sporadically. Zoran nodded to him, signaling that they would make their final move. With a deep breath, Zoran stood up from behind the boulder and ran. He ran straight into the open, using every ounce of speed and strength he had. The sniper fired once, then again, but Zoran was too fast. He zigzagged through the trees, drawing the sniper's attention away from Kelthor. It worked, the sniper's focus shifted, and Zoran saw his chance. Kelthor emerged from his hiding spot and rushed toward the sniper's position. Zoran's plan had worked. Kelthor was in position. This was their moment. The human sniper had been tricked, and now they could strike. Zoran's heart pounded in his chest as he dashed through the jungle, his feet moving quickly but quietly. The sniper's shots continued to echo through the trees, each one narrowly missing him. His strategy was working. He had drawn the snipers focus away from Kelthor, but there was no time to waste. Every second counted. Zoran knew that the sniper was fast, but so was he. The problem wasn't just about speed. It was about being unpredictable. The human sniper had become too focused on Zoran's movements, leaving an opening. But the question remained. Would Kelthor be able to take advantage of it? Zoran glanced over his shoulder. He saw the faint silhouette of Kelthor moving through the underbrush, heading straight for the sniper's position. The human would be expecting Zoran to lead the charge. Kelthor, however, was the one who would have the advantage now. Zoran kept running. weaving through the thick trees and over the roots that jutted out of the ground. His mind was focused, his every move calculated. He knew the sniper was just ahead, hidden somewhere in the dense foliage, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Zoran could feel his every nerve, his every instinct, screaming that this was the most dangerous moment yet. But he had to push forward. He couldn't lose now. The shot rang out, and Zoran felt the wind brush past his ear. Barely had time to react before another shot followed, striking the tree right next to him. The force of the impact shook the leaves above him, but Zoran didn't stop. He kept running, his eyes scanning every shadow, every movement, trying to find the sniper before the sniper could find him. Zoran's mind raced as he kept moving. He had to get closer. Couldn't let the sniper keep him on the run forever. The jungle felt like a trap, every path leading to more danger, more uncertainty. And yet Zoran knew that if they didn't act soon, they would be dead. Suddenly, the sound of a branch snapping made Zoran freeze. He spun around, his weapon raised, but there was nothing, just the quiet hum of the jungle around him. For a split second, he thought the sniper had given away his position. But then Zoran realized the truth. He had been led into a trap. The sniper had made him run straight into it. Zoran darted to the side, just as another shot rang out. This time it was not aimed at Hemet, was aimed at Calthor. Zoran's blood ran cold as he watched Calthor drop to the ground, his body jerking before hitting the dirt. The sniper's accuracy was deadly. Calthor had been too slow. No, Zoran shouted, his heart skipping a beat.
Orcs.
Hands clenched around his weapon, his eyes narrowing with rage. The sniper had killed Calthor without hesitation, without mercy. Zoran had never felt so helpless, so furious. He could not let this be the end. He could not let the sniper have the last word. With a primal scream, Zoran ran toward the place where Calthor had fallen. He wasn't sure if the sniper had taken another shot, or if the jungle itself had gotten the better of him. But Zoran was past caring. All he could think about was ending this. He had to finish what he had started. Zoran reached Calthor's body in seconds. He knelt down, checking for any signs of life, but it was too late. Calthor was gone. The man who had fought beside him for so long was now just another casualty of this insane hunt. Zoran's rage boiled over. He stood, his eyes scanning the jungle as his mind worked furiously. The sniper had no idea how close he was to being caught. Taking a deep breath, Zoran steadied himself. He was alone now. The rest of his team was gone, wiped out by a single human sniper. Zoran's thoughts flashed back to the first moments of the mission when he had been so confident, so certain of victory. Now, that confidence was gone. He was alone in the jungle, staring down a human sniper who had shown him what true danger was. Zoran couldn't afford to hesitate. He wasn't just fighting for his own survival anymore. He was fighting for the honor of his fallen soldiers. He wasn't going to let a human take that from him. Moving swiftly, Zoran advanced toward the sniper's last known position. He knew that the sniper was probably watching, waiting for him to make a mistake. Zoran couldn't afford that. Couldn't afford to be predictable. If he was going to survive this, he needed to outsmart the sniper at his own game, Zoran's. Steps were silent as he crept through the jungle. He didn't look for signs of the sniper. He waited for the sniper to reveal himself. The jungle had become his battlefield now. Zoran would use everything at his disposal to win. He knew the sniper would eventually have to make a move. The sniper had limited resources, just like Zoran did. The longer the sniper waited, the more chances Zoran would have to strike back. And that was exactly what Zoran was counting on. Then, a small rustling noise to his left caught his attention. Zoran didn't hesitate. He spun around, his weapon raised, ready to fire. But instead of seeing the human sniper, he saw a glint of metal. Zoran's eyes narrowed as he realized what it was, an explosive device, hidden carefully in the underbrush. Designed to trap him, Zoran's heart skipped a beat as he dove to the ground, narrowly avoiding the blast. The explosion rocked the jungle, sending debris flying. Zoran rolled away from the blast zone, barely escaping the shrapnel that tore through the trees. The sniper had been waiting for this moment. He had set the trap, and Zoran had walked right into it. But Zoran wasn't done yet. He had survived the explosion. He wasn't going to let the sniper have the last word. Not yet. Zoran staggered to his feet, his body aching from the blast. His eyes burned with fury. He would finish this. He would face this human sniper and make sure that this deadly game ended with him standing victorious. Zoran's body ached as he trudged through the thick jungle, the sounds of the battle ringing in his ears. His heart was still racing from the blast, but he didn't stop. There was no time for weakness. Kelthor was gone, his team was gone, and the only thing left for Zoran was to face the sniper, the human who had made him feel helpless in a way he had never experienced before. Zoran moved cautiously, his eyes scanning every shadow, every rustle in the trees. He had learned from his earlier mistakes. The sniper was no ordinary soldier. Zoran could feel it in the air. The predator was close. And this time, Zoran wasn't going to wait for the sniper to make the first move. He would hunt the hunter. He reached a small clearing where the dense jungle opened up to reveal a stretch of open land. The river ran alongside it, its water moving swiftly, cutting through the jungle like a ribbon. Zoran paused at the edge of the clearing, his eyes darting over the terrain. It was quiet, too quiet. For a moment, Zoran hesitated. It was too easy. The sniper could be anywhere, hidden just out of sight, waiting for Zoran to make his next move. The trap was set, and Zoran was walking right into it, but there was no turning back now. He had come too far. Suddenly, the silence was broken by the sound of a twig snapping in the distance. Zoran's instincts kicked in. He dropped to the ground, his eyes searching the tree line. He knew the sniper was near. Every fiber of his being screamed that the human was about to strike. Then, a voice rang out from the shadows, calm and cold. "You're a lot tougher than I thought," the voice said, sending a chill down Zoran's spine. "I didn't expect you to make it this far." Zoran's grip tightened on his weapon. He didn't move. The voice had come from the opposite side of the clearing, but Zoran knew better than to trust his senses now. The sniper was playing games, trying to get into his head. Zoran wouldn't fall for it. The voice continued, tinged with amusement. "You've seen what we can do, haven't you? How we can move without being seen. How we can take down entire teams without a single shot being fired in return. But you still don't understand, do you? You think this is just a fight, a battle of weapons and technology. But it's not. It's a game." Zoran's mind raced. He had heard of human tactics, but this was different. The sniper wasn't just an enemy to be eliminated. He was part of something greater, something Zoran couldn't yet grasp. And the fact that the sniper was toying with him made him even more dangerous. Zoran had always thought of the galaxy as his domain, his soldiers, his tactics, his victories. But now, it seemed the humans had their own rules. And Zoran was still learning how to play by them. The sniper's voice continued, growing closer. "You think you're ready to face me? You think you've got what it takes to outsmart me?" The words were like a challenge, a taunt. "Let me show you how humans really fight." Zoran could hear the sniper now, moving through the underbrush. With unnatural ease, he had to act fast. This was no longer just about survival. It was about proving to the human that he had underestimated the power of an alien commander. Without warning, Zoran rolled out from behind cover, firing his weapon toward the sound of the sniper's movements. He aimed high, where the sniper's voice had come from. The blast rang out, echoing through the jungle. But there was no impact. Zoran's shot missed. For a split second, Zoran froze. The sniper was too fast, too unpredictable. It already moved. Zoran quickly adjusted, his mind racing. This was a deadly game, and Zoran was learning just how high the stakes were. "Not bad," the sniper's voice came again, this time from a completely different direction. "But you'll have to do better than that." Zoran spun around, his eyes darting between the trees. The human was moving again, using the jungle itself as cover. Zoran had seen how the sniper operated. He was a master of stealth, blending into the environment as though he were part of it. The human wasn't just a soldier, Zoran realized, with a sinking feeling in his gut that the sniper was something else entirely. He was a predator, and Zoran had walked into his hunting ground. "You're right about one thing," the sniper said, his voice suddenly close. "This isn't just about weapons. It's about who can survive, who can outthink the other. See, that's what makes us different. We don't rely on tech alone. We rely on our instincts, our ability to adapt, to become what the environment needs us to be. That's how we survive. Zoran's mind raced as the sniper's words hit him. This wasn't just a war of tactics, it was a war of will. The sniper was playing on a level Zoran had never even considered. It was as if the human had turned the very jungle into his ally, making it impossible to know where the threat would come from next. Zoran's thoughts raced as he tried to process what the sniper had said. Instincts, adaptability. He had always believed that technology and strength were the keys to survival. But the humans, the humans fought with something else entirely. It wasn't just about what they had. It was about how they used it, how they made it work for them, and that was. When it hit him, the sniper wasn't relying on his weapons alone. He was using his mind, his ability to think and react faster than Zoran could ever hope to. Zoran had been fighting with strategy, with force, but the human was fighting with cunning. It was a battle of wits, and Zoran had been playing checkers, while the sniper had been playing chess. For the first time since he had landed on Kiranine, Zoran understood. He understood what he was up against, and he realized that if he wanted to survive, he would have to adapt, just like the human sniper. Zoran adjusted his stance, shifting his focus. He would not be outsmarted again. He wasn't done yet. Had learned the sniper's game, and now it was time to play it his way. Zoran moved silently through the jungle, his thoughts racing. The sniper's words echoed in his mind. It's not about who's faster or stronger. It's about who's willing to wait, to adapt, and to survive. The human was right in many ways. Zoran had been fighting the wrong way, relying on his strength and technology, thinking that would be enough to defeat the sniper. But now, after days of running and hiding, Zoran understood the true nature of this battle. It wasn't just about fighting. It was about surviving. It was about outlasting the enemy, making the right move at the right time. Zoran was no longer just trying to win. He was trying to learn, adapt, and turn the tables on the sniper who had made him feel powerless. Zoran's senses were heightened as he moved through the dense jungle. His footsteps were light, his breath steady. The sniper had taught him one thing: he needed to be patient. He couldn't rush in, expecting to find the human and end the battle in a single move. No, this time, Zoran would wait for the sniper to make a mistake. And when that mistake came, Zoran would be ready. He reached a small ridge, overlooking a narrow path that led deeper into the jungle. The path was exposed, but the trees around it provided enough cover for Zoran to stay hidden. He crouched behind a large boulder, his weapon ready, could feel the sniper's presence nearby, just out of sight. The jungle was thick with the scent of damp earth and leaves, and the air was heavy with anticipation. Minutes passed, then hours. Zoran's mind remained focused, his eyes scanning the path below him. The sniper hadn't made a sound, and Zoran knew he was out there, watching, waiting for Zoran to make a move. Zoran's grip tightened on his weapon. He couldn't afford to be too eager. He had to wait. Patience was the key. Then he heard the softest rustle of leaves, followed by the faintest snap of a twig. Zoran's eyes narrowed. The sniper was close. He was getting careless. Zoran had learned the sniper's pattern: always patient, always careful. But now, the sniper was slipping. Zoran had to act. He stood up quickly, moving to the edge of the ridge. From this position, he could see the path clearly. The trees were thick, but the sniper's movements were more predictable now. Zoran had tracked him long enough to know his patterns. He took a deep breath and waited for the right moment. A sudden movement caught Zoran's attention. In the shadows, the sniper stepped into view. The human was moving with precision, his eyes scanning the area. Zoran could see the sniper's weapon in hand, ready to strike. This was it. The moment Zoran had been waiting for. He aimed his weapon carefully, adjusting his stance to get a clear shot. The sniper didn't see him yet. Zoran's finger hovered over the trigger, his breath steady, his mind sharp. Everything in the jungle seemed to fade away, except for the sniper, the target. Zoran's focus was complete. But just as he was about to fire, something changed. The sniper paused, turning his head slowly as if sensing something. Zoran froze, his heart pounding. The sniper had stopped. He was no longer moving as confidently. As before, his gaze swept the area, and Zoran knew in that moment that the human had realized he wasn't alone. Zoran lowered his weapon slightly, watching the sniper carefully. The human wasn't rushing. Instead, he moved with purpose, slowly. Cautiously scanning every corner of the jungle, Zoran knew the sniper was searching for him now, aware that the tables had turned. The sniper knew he was being hunted. Zoran's mind raced. The sniper had become too focused on finding him. This was the moment Zoran had been waiting for. The human had made a mistake. The human had given him an opening. Zoran moved quickly. Stepping out from behind the boulder and running toward the sniper, his movement was swift and precise, closing the gap between them faster than the sniper could react. The human's eyes widened as he saw Zoran approach, but it was too late. Zoran was upon him. In an instant, Zoran tackled the sniper to the ground, his weight driving the human into the dirt. The sniper struggled, but Zoran's strength was overwhelming. He pinned the human's arms to the ground, his weapon aimed. Directly at the sniper's chest, the sniper's breath came in sharp gasps. His eyes locked with Zoran's. There was no fear in the human's gaze, only determination. It was as if the sniper had known all along that this would come down to this moment. The human had known he couldn't keep running forever. Why? Zoran asked, his voice low. Why keep fighting? Why not just surrender? The sniper's lips curled into a faint smile. You think this was just about winning? It was never about that. It was about proving something, proving that humans can survive, that we're not the weak ones, that we can beat the odds, even against someone like you. Zoran's heart skipped a beat. The sniper wasn't just fighting for survival. He was fighting to prove a point, to show Zoran and the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated, that they had power in their will, in their ability to survive. Zoran felt the weight of the human's words. For the first time, he understood. The sniper wasn't just a soldier. He was a symbol of humanity's strength, their ability to adapt and overcome. Zoran had been wrong all along. Humans didn't need advanced technology to win battles. They had something far stronger, their resilience. Zoran lowered his weapon, his hands shaking slightly. He had learned the lesson the sniper had been trying to teach him. The humans were not to be feared because of their weapons or technology. They were to be feared because of their spirit, their unwillingness to give up, no matter the odds. The sniper looked up at Zoran, his expression calm. You're not the first to underestimate us, and you won't be the last. Zoran nodded slowly, his mind processing the truth of the sniper's words. He had lost this battle, but in doing so, he had gained something far more valuable, an understanding of the true strength of humanity.